Let's talk about titles in academic essays. So a lot of students will just title their essay Essay 1, Essay 2, or the title of the assignment like Compare Contrast Essay, or Descriptive Essay, or Literary Analysis Essay. Even though the title isn't worth a whole lot in the scheme of things, it is the first thing that the reader sees, and it does hold a privileged position in your essay because it's the first thing that the reader reads. So do spend a little bit of time tinkering with your title. Here are some strategies that you can use if you're looking for ideas. So use a few words or a powerful line from your own essay, or an interesting or compelling or really moving quotation from the story that you're writing about, or the article that you're referencing, or a first-hand account of something. So for example, quote, "Out of the huts of history shame, an analysis of form in Maya Angelou's poetry." So that is a quote from one of her poems that maybe has something to do with what the writer is going to explore in the essay. So we have a quote from the poem in question, and we have a description of what type of essay this is and what this essay is going to do. It's going to be an analysis of form. If you find that you write something in your own essay and you think, wow, I really like my own writing here, I thought what I wrote was really vivid or well said, you might want to highlight that and pull that out and use that in your title, if of course it connects to some of the overarching ideas in your essay, if it connects to your topic. You could also do something kind of funny or use a witty turn of phrase. Depending upon the assignment and the tone and the audience, you might want to use a pun or make your title funny. So sweating in statistics, math anxiety in college students. So it tells us what the essay is about, math anxiety, but it has that more vivid or visceral part as someone sweating in a stats class. And I like the alliteration there. Use a relevant and interesting question. So children are born scientists. What if school encouraged that? These are real titles, by the way. What I like about this question title is that the question is not a yes or no question. It's a subjective, thoughtful question. It's not an incredibly obvious, on-the-nose question. So I think this is an effective title that helps to hook us in. Use alliterations or puns or figurative language. So in an essay about football, this is the name of a real essay, pigskin, patriarchy, and pain. It kind of combines all of those central ideas together that the writer is going to be exploring in the essay, and we have that alliteration. If you really can't think of any ideas for your title, you can always try this formula. Before a colon, you can use a catchy part, something witty, a quote from your own writing, a quote from the text that you're going to be analyzing, something a little bit more catchy. And then after the colon, you could write about what type of essay this is, or your take, or your very specific topic. So you have kind of the more fun part and then the more business part of the title. You don't have to use a colon, but I noticed that a lot of academic essays use colons. Here are a couple rules of thumb when it comes to titles. You don't want to use bold or italics or quotes for your own title. The only time you would do any of that to your own title is if you publish something and then you're referencing it in a later text. In this class, that doesn't apply. Do not do any of that to your own title. The only time you would use quotes in your own title would be if you're quoting from the text that you're analyzing, or if you're referencing a short story, right? Maybe you're going to say a discussion of metaphor in, quote, "The Hills Like White Elephants," because that's the name of the story. Or a discussion of Taylorism in, quote, "Is Google making us stupid?" because that's the name of the article. But your title itself doesn't go in quotes, no underline, no bold. It should look pretty boring, actually, just 12-point font. Capitalize the first letter of key words, except for articles like a or an or the, or prepositions like on or at. Obviously, you want to capitalize the very first letter of the very first word of the title, regardless of if it's a preposition or an article like the. The title should not take up more than 2 lines of your text. So a title doesn't have to be long, but a lot of times academic titles are a little bit more complex. So maybe there are 2 lines, maybe there are 2 parts, but it really shouldn't take up more than that. Remember, it's a title, not a thesis statement, not an abstract of your essay. Most titles are not complete sentences. I've seen exceptions to this rule, and certainly if you're asking a question, that can be a title, that's fine. But generally, titles are not complete sentences, as a rule of thumb. You don't need a title page for MLA format. APA is a little bit different, but for my class, for our shorter essays, no need for a title page. You want to use MLA format. So that means center the title, double space the entire essay, and use 12-point font. And think about not only the assignment, the prompt, but think about the audience, right? Are you writing to a very specific academic audience? Then maybe you can use jargon, terminology that's specific to a particular field. Or are you writing to a much more general audience? Are you writing an essay that's much more personal, a narrative essay or a descriptive essay? Then you might use humor. Or are you writing more of a research paper in which your tone should be much more kind of detached and academic? So when you're writing your title, think about the assignment and also, of course, think about the audience.